All right, guys, right there. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's midweek stretch break. Same as always, we're pretty much body weight today, with the exception of a potential uses of some tension piece of equipment. That can be anything like I have a band right here, but most of you probably don't have that. So it can be a blanket, towel, or a broomstick. Doesn't have to be super elastic. It really just has to be something where you can hold your hands out like this and wrap it behind. That's going to help us stretch out our chest. And if we don't have anything like that in arm's reach, the other option we can do is a nice chest stretch against a wall or a door frame. You can have that arm. Pretty much we want to focus on having that elbow in contact with that point, whether or not that's like this, up, down like this, here, or here. Those last three that I showed you guys with that arm at separate angles can give us just a bit different of a chest stretch through each of the three different upper, middle, and lower chest fibers. But guys, that's how we're starting that off. If you want to do the wall, I recommend holding that stretch for about 20 to 40 seconds each side and then switching off. And if you guys are utilizing some form of tension equipment back at home, you're holding this for as long as you're able to, pretty much, because we're all going to be somewhat different with the equipment that we're using. If you ever need a break, just bring your hands back forward, roll out your shoulders a little bit, let your chest relax, and re-engage. But guys, for this first little bit of time at the start of the class, you're on your own, just focusing on that chest. Great opportunity, just because that muscle tends to get a little bit tighter, since most of us might sit with a little bit of a rounded shoulder position as we're on computers. Even just having those arms out like that can give a nice chest tightness, just because we're in that position. So this is a great opportunity to relieve some of that as well. And right there, guys, we're going to go ahead, separating ourselves from either that tension piece of equipment or the wall. Coming back up to center class, we're going to have our legs nice and straight, hinge down at the hips, get a nice hamstring stretch here. And unlike a normal deadlift, where we might ask you guys to keep a nice straight back, feel free to allow that spine to relax as well, go into flexion here. This extend and stretching out that lower back here as well, guys. Opportunity to do so, you don't have to, but some people do like to allow themselves to hang down, whether that means touching their toes or just crossing their arms in case you need a little bit more range of motion. My only recommendation is, if you choose to come out of this position, having your hands go down to your shins, tracking them up to your knees as you extend at the spine here, getting back into that neutral posture that we would normally like if we were doing a strength class, and then extend through the hips. Again, that's just to protect the spine, just a little bit of extra measure of protection for it. But same thing as with that chest stretch. We're kind of on our own, guys, right now. So feel free to allow yourself to feel comfortable and take breaks in this moment as much as you need to. And right there, guys, I'm going to have you place your hands on your shin, track them on up to the knee, extending the spine and extend through the hips. We're going to go down to the mat a little bit, starting off here in a Spider-Man stretch. It's going to be pretty much from this lunge position, hands down, and we're focusing on that hip flexor stretch. And right there, guys, we're going to go ahead, drop that knee down, come back on up into a lunge position, neutral pelvis, upright torso. From there, I'm going to have you lean forward, again, focusing on that hip flexor a little bit here, just a different angle. If that initial stretch doesn't do much for us, guys, a couple of things we recommend is rotating into this top knee, turning your body this way. If that's not quite enough, you can also lean into that top leg. I would try those first. Give each one of those about 6 to 8 seconds if you don't really feel much. One other thing you can try very delicately is slightly leaning back, making sure we're keeping our balance. And the reason we want to be so careful there is because right here, when our pelvic bone, we have one of those hip flexors crossing over. We want to make sure we're not causing too much irritation while we're rubbing those across. So we want to be really gentle if we decide to take that approach. But most of us should be able to experience a stretch in one of those first two adaptations or modifications. And if we can't, we might just have flexible enough hips or hip flexors as is, and we might not need to push it beyond that. And right there, guys, I'm going to have you switching on over. We're going to do the same thing starting off here in that Spider-Man stretch. And coming on out of that one, guys, we're going to go back into this lunge position. Again, neutral pelvis, upright torso, driving those hips slightly forward, and then taking on one of those 2 and then possibly 3 modifications if needed here. And right there, guys, we're gonna go ahead, relax. Coming on down to the floor, we're gonna spread our legs straight down to the middle, focusing on that interior thigh muscles, those adductors. Right there, guys, I'm gonna have you come on in into a butterfly stretch. Again, still working those adductors, different angle. We're actually gonna go back into that V stretch here in a moment. See if we can't start off farther than we started off in the last one, but right now, again, still focusing on this butterfly stretch. And right there, let's go back into that V stretch. Again, seeing if we can start farther than we started in the previous rep. And if we can't, guys, that's okay. Sometimes we'll see those minute, acute progressions, and sometimes we won't. Nothing to be discouraged by, but if they're there, we want to take advantage of them. Right there, guys, we're gonna come on up. We're gonna lay here on our backs. We're gonna do a little bit of a glute stretch, also focusing on a piriformis muscle right down here on the sides of our hips. What we do here is we're gonna pick up this ankle, put it on that opposite knee, and pull in this bottom knee. Trying to feel that stretch right here, guys, on the major glute, as well as on the outside of that hip bone. And then at the same time, let's rotate that far ankle clockwise and counterclockwise, switching between the two just so we can't get some blood flow back up to the heart, take advantage of us in this somewhat supine position. Right there, guys, go ahead, switch it on over for me. Same thing, other side. Again, rotating that far ankle. And right there, guys, we are going to rotate back to a seated position. You can find yourself just on the ground like this in a chair or standing. And we're going to do our four-way neck stretch here, neck, just to get some blood flow directed back up towards the brain and relieve some tensions in our neck. But we're going to start off dumping or putting our chin into our chest, stretching the back of our neck. And we're going to go ahead and raise it up right there, guys. Same thing, but in the opposite direction. Tilting our heads back, eyes to the sky, stretching the front of our neck. From there, return to center for me, one ear, same side shoulder, stretching the side of our neck. and raise it up, same thing, other side.